let's start. So what is Lisible? Lisible is an AI-based online tool. Is it okay? And it has two main functions. The first one is to measure readability and to give a score between 0 and 100. 100 being the maximum score of clarity and 0 being the maximum score of unclarity. The score is calculated by an algorithm that enables real-time measurement of readability. And the second function is to help professional writers improve their clear writing in French, of course, on a daily basis by showing all the elements that can impact the ease of understanding the meaning of a text. So maybe if I can just show you very briefly. So if you can see just the website, so it's a website where you have an online editor. And basically, you type a text in the online editor, and you can see, here is a demo text. And you have two things, the readability score that we call Lisi score, and the elements that can be problematic. Sorry, not used to that kind of computer element that can be problematic within the text. So, for example, words and phrases. So maybe you can see long phrases or passive voice sentences, etc. But I come back to the demo a bit forward, but I just wanted you to have an idea of what is concretely Lisible. So why did we design and conceive this solution, this online tool? During our plain language missions, our clients asked us very often, is there a tool that could help us improve our clear writing? And we were saying, well, not really, and especially in French. We knew existing tools in other languages, especially in English, but in French there was nothing really interesting and relevant. So we started thinking about using the technology to serve the cause of a plain language, and thinking of a very user-friendly and easy to use tool like a spell checker or a dictionary. The objective was to create this tool for the writer, but also to create a score for assessment. One of the interests for me of a software is to objectify the measure. And even if it's not perfect, because the software algorithm can't take into account the context, for example, or the specific audience, the algorithm, it has the benefit to work always the same way. So you can compare the documents with the same rating system. At last, we created this tool with the idea of creating a label that could one day be used by institutions and private companies to show the consideration they have for customers or citizens. By stamping the document or a website with a score. And of course, we think that this is virtuous to improve collectively communications. We see Lisible as a complementary tool to our services of training and consulting that is useful if and when people have been trained. And this is very important to me. When you know the basic rules and when you know the principles, then at this condition, a tech tool becomes interesting and relevant. To develop Lisible, we gathered a team of experts with a researcher in readability, who is, by the way, Belgian, so in French, of course, and a team of natural language processing in French also, and also web developers, our team of plain language experts, linguists. So that was a bit of a challenge. And at the beginning, I thought it would last about 6 months, and it ended up during 18 months of research and development. We really wanted to get a reliable and robust result, and to get a score that is as close as possible to a human text analysis. And a few days ago, we enhanced the solution with an OpenAI add-on that enables the user, the writers and users, to get real-time suggestions of rephrasing and of suggestions of synonyms for complex words. And I must admit that, well, it's quite working well. And I think it's really, really interesting for the future, especially when you use that kind of generative AI sentence by sentence. For me, it's now the most relevant way to use OpenAI. So the main difficulty was to develop the algorithm that gives the score. We wanted to have, so as I said, something relevant, and we used a scientific method to build the algorithm. We first manually scored a corpus of representative documents, and then this corpus and the associated ratings were used to identify a number of variables that would be combined to get the algorithm. And thanks to psycholinguistics research, to our plain language experts, and to our team of NLP experts and machine learning, we were able first to select about 60 linguistic phenomena that can impact the reading, like certain verbal tenses, grammatical forms, frequency of words, subordinate propositions, etc. And then with the modeling approach, we selected the best ones to only get the 17 most relevant ones to train a statistical model able to combine them efficiently. So the result is that, according to our researchers, the Lisi score, so the score we give, is more reliable than the traditional readability formulas because it takes into account much more variables than the old traditional formulas that basically count average sentences length and average word length and give a school grade equivalent. these formulas exist for a long time now, but they have, in my opinion, three weaknesses. First, they have been conceived in English for English. So, of course, each language has its own characteristics. Second, they are based on very few variables. And third, as they usually give a school grade, well, for me, what can you do with a school grade when you know that two people of the same age and attending the same school grade may have such varying levels of understanding and reading, depending on so many other conditions than school. So we tried to propose, to offer a close to human scoring measure. And regarding the writing improvement, as I showed you, in the editor, you have at a glance all the elements that can have an impact on the understanding of the reading. So some of the phenomena are easy to detect when you talk about long sentences or long words. It's not complicated. I mean, for software, you just have to count the signs. So it's the easy part. For jargon or Latinisms or abbreviations, we built dictionaries. So that's that takes time, but it's not really complicated either. The complex part is, for example, to be able to detect passive voice sentences, because in French you have many different grammatical forms of passive voice, and some of the passive voice are very close to other grammatical forms that are not passive voice, etc. Also, we wanted to give information about the frequency of words for the words used in the text. That means, are the words frequent in the everyday language use or rare? And so we used a lexicon database in French based on books and films subtitles. But we were not really at ease or convinced by the reliability of this database. So we chose to have a subjective analysis of the frequency for 140,000 entries. That takes time also. What are the benefits of such a tool? For the organizations first. Well, they can set quality objectives for their communications, relying on an automatic rating of their content. As you may know, managers love scorings. So it's a way to assess a work and to drive a transformation. They can set the objectives to achieve with, for example, a minimum score to achieve for each new content produced by a company or a public institution. Some of our clients are also interested in having a way to prove to their internal managers that certain content was not so good and something has to be done to improve the communications. So in that way, a measure is really interesting. Organization can also monitor the communication improvement. And for the teams who use plain language, this is a way, of course, to improve their writings. For the writers, they also reduce their production time. because the tool, sorry? Okay, I'm too long. Okay, the tool gives them the opportunity to have at a glance the view of what can be changed in terms of words or sentences in text. So they gain time, and then they can progress over time because they gradually develop good habits. And another interesting consequence of this tool that we didn't expect is that to some extent, writing becomes sort of a game within the teams, the writing teams, because the people try to get the best score, the best readability score, creating a virtuous effect. We really didn't think about this consequence, but this is a pleasing one. And of course, for the readers, if plain language is used, well, they understand the information better. And as you all know here, when the information, the communication is clear, the people are more confident with their institutions, and we, for example, all agree that more easily with the law when we understand it. Another point is that the readers feel valued as customers or citizens. And at last, they can refer to a new quality label stamped on each communication. I wanted to mention very briefly two clients we have. One in the public sphere, that is the Paris City Council. We train some people, especially from the experienced team, and then they use the tool especially to convince internally that something has to be done on a certain contents. And the other example is for an insurer called Wacom. We also trained the people, communication services, but also legal services and business experts. And we conduct audits for them, benchmarks of certain documents, thanks to Lisible. And they have chosen to stamp some final user documents with the rating, with the score, with the Lisi score. And we are very proud of this. And to end this presentation, can such tool be adapted in other languages? And my answer is yes, definitely. If, of course, you have the right linguists, native linguists of each language, and NLP experts who can have this knowledge. And Iria will present in a minute the Spanish tool that has some similarities with Lisible, of course, and good thing, I think. So the main rules of plain language are shared in most languages, and the ISO standard that is about to be released works in any language. So, however, of course, for each language there is specific characteristics that makes such a tool difficult to quickly duplicate. But I'm pretty confident that with a European team and goodwill of collaboration, we could design something to speed up plain language use. Just to show you in 2 minutes a bit more the tool. So as I showed you, this is the editor. You put a text, or you can import a text, a PDF, etc., etc. And then you have the different variables on the right. So the words, long words, jargon, formal words, unknown words, nominalization, Anglicism, etc., etc., abbreviations. That is an interesting one. And for the phrases, long phrases, passive sentences, subordinates, impersonal parentheses, non-verbal, and double negations. And I just wanted to show you, to end this presentation, the data we can show to the users with a complement to the other variables. That is the text tonality and the emotion analysis. That is, as you know, an important way also to get the information passed through the reader. So it's interesting for me to give this information to the users. Thank you.
The title of my presentation is Artes Claro, a writing assistant to draft Spanish administrative text in plain language. To start, I would like to give you some background on the situation of plain language in Spain. In our country, since the 80s, several initiatives have been carried out for the modernization of the legal administrative discourse and for the promotion of plain language. These initiatives have been promoted first by different judicial and administrative institutions, second by universities, research centers, and companies, third by the Royal Spanish Academy, and fourth by different governments. In fact, for example, yesterday we had Maria Ramos, who is here also, who explained the initiatives of plain language of our government, the Pedro Sánchez government. Moreover, in the framework of the Clear Writing Initiative, we have created an informal clear writing group in Spain, promoted by Luis González, who is a translator of the DGT, and formed by its coordinator, Cristina Carretero, and also Julio Fuentes, Blanca Trabado, and me. As a result of all these initiatives, several guides and manuals have been published to provide guidelines on writing in plain language in Spanish. If you want to know more about this subject, you can find more information in this book on the screen, The Discourse of the Field of Administration, a Linguistic Perspective. Moreover, since 2020, different technological tools have been developed to help people write text in plain language in Spanish. On the one hand, the Clara tool can test short administrative text and measure the clarity and offer a percentage of clarity. On the other hand, the Artes Claro tool helps to draft administrative text in plain language. Today, I am going to speak about the second project, which I have the pleasure of leading in the National University of Distance Education, in the Faculty of Philology, in the Department of Foreign Language and Linguistics. This project is developed by an interdisciplinary team with 13 people, linguists, of course, but also IT developers and administrative law experts. The starting point of this research was a project funded by the BBVA Foundation from 2015 to 2016. And in the framework of this project, we developed Artex, a technological system for writing text in different domains: administration, medicine, tourism, and academia. Next, we obtained funding from the Ministry of Science and Innovation from Spain to carry out another project, in this case, information and communication technologies for the e-administration towards the improvement of the communication between administration and citizens by means of plain language. This project was carried out between 2018 and 2022, focusing on plain language in administration. Recently, the Ministry of Science and Innovation has also given us funding for a new project, in this case, a proof of concept project titled A Technological Prototype for Writing in Plain Language, Incorporation in Public Administration and Analysis of its Impact on Citizens. This research is done in collaboration with the Madrid City Council. We have signed an official agreement in 2021. Here you can see a photo we posted on Twitter on the day of the signing on the spectacular roof of the City Council building. And by the way, if you like our project, I invite you to follow us on Twitter, where we are Sistema_Artex. Okay. The Madrid City Council has more than 27,000 public employees who must write textual genres such as notifications, resolutions, contracts, etc. For example, here on the screen, you have one of these resolutions published in the official gazette of the Madrid City Council. In the framework of this collaboration, we have designed a survey to identify their writing needs, and this information was really useful for us for designing and developing our text Claro. In addition, in the survey, we asked them if they thought that a writing assistant to draft administrative text in plain language could help them in their work. Almost 1,000 employees responded to the survey, and almost 90% said yes. So, in this context, the main objectives of our research are two. The first one, to develop an online and free software to help public employees to draft administrative text in plain language in Spanish for citizens by using natural language processing resources and tools. And the second one is to evaluate the impact of the use of this software on different groups, mainly public employees, but also recipients of the texts. Well, here you have a screenshot of the software, which you can access online and free of charge at sistema-artex.com. And here I am going, 1 minute. I have prepared some flyers, so even if you can, I would like to share these flyers with you. And we are very proud with this project because today the system has more than 222,000 users. The methodology of our research includes 3 stages. The stage 1 is the design of our text Claro. Stage 2, implementation of the software. And stage 3, of course, evaluation. With regard to stage 1, our text Claro is online, free of charge, and no registration is required to use it. It has a text editor format, and it includes 3 modules. A module related to text structure and context, a module related with spell checking and formatting, and a module related with linguistic recommendations for plain language. The system allows exportation and importation of documents locally and in different formats. Regarding stage 2, our text Claro has been developed in a Linux environment, and it has been optimized to be used in a Google Chrome browser. And it integrates several resources, such as an open source spell checker, 22 linguistic recommendations for plain language, a morphosyntactic parser, a discourse segmenter, and several algorithms developed by our team. And with respect to stage 3, the evaluation, we have carried out data-driven evaluation with a test corpus, including resolutions, administrative resolutions, and moreover, we are carrying out various user-driven evaluations, both with recipients of the text and with public employees. The benefits for the users of the software are diverse. My colleague, Stéphanie, has already mentioned some of them, and I totally agree with her. If institutions use this kind of software, they will save time and money, instill confidence in institutions, improve their image, comply with legality, and also meet the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, especially number 10, reduce inequalities, and 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Also, the benefits for recipients of the text, that is citizens, are clear. For example, to better understand the text sent by the administration, and this better understanding will make it easier for them to exercise their rights and also fulfill their obligations, and also to help them to have more confidence in institutions. And finally, what we would need to adapt our text Claro to another language? Well, we will need a spell checker, a selection of plain language recommendations for that specific language, a morphosyntactic parser, a discourse segmenter, and also adapting the algorithms developed by our team. And at this point, I am really happy to announce that we have just obtained findings from 2 local governments to adapt our text Claro in Catalan, the Generalitat de Catalunya and the Govern de las Illes Balears. And you can find more information about our research in our recently published book, Plain Language and Technology in the Administration. And now, after this introduction, I am going to do a brief demo of the system. To do it, I am going to go to the main page of the system. As you can see, the only thing you need to do to open the system is go to a Google Chrome browser and write sistema-artext.com. And here you have a main question, ¿qué necesitas redactar? That means, what do you need to write? Te ayudamos, we help you. And we have 2 buttons. The first one, Artext, and the second one, Artext Claro. The first one, géneros textuales de ámbitos especializados, means textual genres of specialized domains. And here, textos en lenguaje claro, text on clear language, plain language. Claro in Spanish means clear. Here you have different sections sobre our text, about our text. If you go there, you can see the different characteristics of the system. Here, cómo usar our text, you have 3 resources. The first one is a tutorial, a YouTube tutorial, very brief. Also a user manual, and also a text to do demos and try the system. I am going to copy this text in my clipboard, okay? And I go back to the main, and a contact section also. If I go to the main page, ¿qué necesitas redactar? I am going to click on the first button, géneros textuales de ámbitos especializados. If I click here, you will see that we have nowadays 4 specialized domains: administración pública, public administration, medicine, tourism, and academia. If I click on administración pública, you will see a list of textual genres that you can write by using the system. For example, the first 5, allegation, cover letter, letter of complaint, claim, and application, are texts that citizens have to write to the administration. And the following genres: administrative injunction, inspection report, contract, resolution published on institutional web portals, and resolution addressed to a particular citizen, are texts that administration have to write to citizens, okay? So this is the reason you see the mark Claro, it's like a stamp, okay? Clear. For example, if I click on resolution published in web portals, institutional web portals, I click here, and you can see the text editor. In the middle, you can see a blank page where you can write or copy paste, both. And at this point, if you remember, the definition of plain language of the International Plain Language Federation includes 3 aspects: structure, design, and wording. So the system includes information, or helps in these 3 aspects. For example, the model 1, estructura y contenidos del texto, that means structure and contents, it's on the left in the column, and there you can see the main sections, the prototypical sections that are included in this textual genre, the resolution, remember. So you can see here the header, the body, the decision, the information about appeals, closing, and annexes. Then, if you click, for example, in cabecera, that means header, you can see the main content that should be included into this section. That is, título principal del documento, main title of the document. If I click here, that content, I am going to see a phrase. And if I click on that phrase, I can see this phrase into the document, into the blank page, but in the corresponding section, okay? And in brackets, you have variable information that the user has to change. For example, dia, that is the day. So I can do 7 or months, etc. Okay. And also, if I go on, for example, with body, you can see the legal framework, the background, the objective of the resolution, and the legal basis. If I click here in the legal framework, I have different options, and I can choose if any of one options is adequate for me. For example, in this one. So, and so on with this antecedentes. If I click here, so it's a tool that helps to structure and to write, to start writing the text. Okay, so this is the model 1 structure, and then here above you have a format bar with the main traditional options and with a spell checker, open source spell checker that you have here, and this part is related with the design of the document. And here you have the module 3. This green button means revisar el texto, means review the text. And if I click this button, I am going to obtain on the right a list of recommendations to adapt this text into plain language. But to do it, I am going to go back to the main page, and I am going to enter by using the second button, textos en lenguaje claro. And here you can see administrative text addressed to the citizens, but not you can write administrative text in general, not associated to a specific textual genre. So if I click here, I am going to see on the left 3 main sections that are prototypical sections in administrative documents. The header with a brief explanation of the contents, the body, and the closing. But here I am going to do this demo. If you remember, I have the text in my clipboard, so I am going to copy paste. Okay. Paste. Okay. And now, for example, I am going to change the font. I prefer Arial. I suppose everybody. And also the size, the font size. I am going to select 22. And also I am going to justify, and I can do different things. And for example, here you can see in in red words that we can use the spell checker here, and you get the right option. Sorry. And now, once I have my text here, I am going to click on revisar el texto, and now you are seeing a spinner. Okay, that the spinner means that our natural language processing resources and tools are working, are analyzing this text, and when the spinner finishes, you are going to obtain a list of 22 recommendations to adapt this text into plain language. We have recommendations related to 3 linguistic levels. The first level is the discourse level, the second level is the morphosyntactic level, and the third level is the lexical level. These recommendations are extracted from the bibliography, for the scientific bibliography. For example, here, it's impossible to see all of them, so I am going to choose a couple. Revisión de párrafos largos means that the system is going to highlight long paragraphs. And also here, splitting of long sentences, the system is going to highlight the long sentences. And also, if you click here, you are going to see here, sorry about the resolution, in a bigger computer, you can see it better. And here on the right, you can see the options that the system recommends you to split that long sentence into small, shorter sentences. And also, if you want to do it, the system highlights the connectors, the conjunctions. Es decir means that is a restatement relation, discourse relation. If you click here on es decir, you are going to see here on the right alternative connectors to express the same discourse relation, that is reformulation, restatement. Dicho de otro modo, en otras palabras, that means in other words. Or for example, here you have porque, that is indicating cause, and you have here debido a ello, debido a eso, por ello, por esa razón, etc. Or pero, no obstante, sin embargo, de todas maneras. Different alternatives in order you can choose if you like any of them. More things now related to the morphosyntactic level, the passive voice. Stephanie mentioned that the system can detect the passive voice. In Spanish, it's not so difficult. We have a morphosyntactic parser integrated into the system, so it's not a difficult thing for Spanish. Also the gerunds, that we have lots of these verbal forms in administrative text in Spanish. Also the participles, also the units expressing negation, okay, that are problematic. And for example, with respect to the lexical level, remember the third level, we have this recommendation, introducción de siglas. The system can detect the acronyms that are not with the long term the first time they appear in the text. It's a very typical problem. And also, utilización de términos más transparentes means use of more transparent terms. And we have a database of terms, a glossary, like Stephanie, more or less. We have a glossary with administrative terms that are difficult to understand and the corresponding equivalent easy to understand. So, for example, here, if I click on conferir, ¿vale? And I go to the text and I see highlight confiera, that is a form of the verb conferir. Conferir in English, I think, is confer. And the equivalent, simpler, is in Spanish, otorgar, could be give in English, okay? And also, I have 3 minutes. And also, for example, this one, a substitution of expressions that are difficult to understand. Not terms, not terminological units, not expressions. For example, obsolete connectors, in Spanish, ello no obstante, that is quite difficult to understand, en evitación de, and also some Latinism like propter rem, erga omnes, para todos, for everyone, and we have also a glossary. And if you want to export and import the text, you only have to go here, Archivo, Exportar como, and you have different formats. And also to upload the document, you can use this section. And I think it's everything. I hope you like our project, and thank you very much.